And on 5 Live on Saturday night, commentary on George Groves against James DeGale from the O2 Arena. We heard from DeGale just before the news. Let's hear from Groves now. He's not concerned about being the underdog.
You take the good and the bad and you just, you forget it just the same. This time last year, it would have been the other way around. Everyone would have said that it's a formality. We get in the ring, I'll do him. And then if you let that sort of be your motivating force, once they all switch on you, like they have done, then how are you going to deal with it? So at the moment, I just don't care. I'm facing James DeGale. It's a fight. It's a big fight. And I'm mentally prepared for it. I'm physically prepared for it. I just can't wait to get it on.
And when you think back to the amateur bout in which you won, did you sense back then that you were likely to meet again on a bigger stage?
Yeah, I did. I thought we'd probably meet again as amateurs before we both turned pro. But I always had ambitions to turn professional. And that there was earmarked that this would be a big fight in the future, and everyone was saying, wait, let it be a world title, let it be a huge event. But it is a huge event. It just doesn't have the world title attached to it. It's definitely the right time for the fight, and it's had time to build up. It is the grudge match, and I think people are really excited about it, and the fans are in for a treat Saturday.
What do you think about what it will do for you as a platform to bigger and better things?
I'm not a fool. I know that this is a huge fight. It's a high-profile fight. So once I come out of this fight, looking good, and it's onwards and upwards from here. So after the fight Saturday, that's when I'll sit down with Adam and we'll discuss the next step.
And you've been very calm all the way through the build-up. Has that been your strategy before you get to the ring? I
think I'm a calm person in general, and James DeGale's one of his main attributes is that he's annoying, that he gets under people's skin. Previous opponents have proven it, and you don't want to start throwing punches with emotion. I said that from the first time I saw him, and it's still the same case now. I'm not going to become emotionally involved. I think he's become emotionally involved, and he's desperate for me to fight the way he wants me to fight. He's desperate for me to come in and let my hands go, because he knows that's the only chance he has, is if I become emotionally involved and just start swinging.
Well, that was George Groves. It's interesting, isn't it? Because he sounds more laid back, doesn't he, than James DeGale? Sounds less pumped up by it all.
He is less laid. He is slightly more laid back. He has pumped up. Trust me. He's as on edge. He manifests in a different way. He spends a lot of time, remember, with Adam Booth, who's really calm, cool, and collected, and David Haye, who is so laid back. I mean, he has got grit in the back of his hair. That's the way David is. David's calm. David's fighting a Klitschko, and you measure David's heartbeat as he walks to the ring, it won't have even gone up above normal pace, Ellie. So he's in a very calm environment. There's another guy in there called David Caldwell who does stuff, and John, who looks after their office. And collectively, the 5 or 6 of them involved with the Haymaker camp, including George. And it's a small camp, but they generate a lot of money and a lot of publicity. They are calm. When you're with them, it's calm. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah.
It's a soothing effect when you're around those boys.
It is. But David Haye then continues in that frame of mind
Once
as he walks
goes
to the ring.
That's the problem.
George Groves can copy all he likes of David Haye in and out of the ring. But in the end, how he feels will be individual to himself. And we won't know how George Groves reacts until we see him with that crowd roaring on Saturday night. What's been interesting about this is, and it was a point made by George Groves, is that this time last year, even just before Christmas, if you'd asked anybody who would win this fight, it would be George Groves.
Yeah, so why has it changed? Why has it shifted?
One fight. James DeGale beating Paul Smith for the British Super-Middleweight title, which was an outstanding piece of matchmaking once again by Frank Warren, because Paul Smith is a type of copybook fighter who, through his professional career, has boxed as though he's been lacking in motivation. Terrific pedigree himself, silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games, beaten by a Canadian called Jean Pascal. We're going to be talking about him in a few moments' time because he's fighting Bernard Hopkins at the weekend. But good pedigree from Smith, but straight up and down, doesn't do anything really that's different to the copybook, whereas James DeGale is very, very different. And he was the type of opponent that DeGale was always going to look good against, and he did. And suddenly there's been this complete scene shift from Groves to DeGale. But George Groves has shown pedigree as an amateur. He's got terrific courage, and I sense that this might be closer than a lot of people are suggesting. A lot of people criticise Groves. You mentioned David Haye, Steve, for trying to copy David Haye. David Haye takes a lot of chances. He gets away with it at heavyweight because he's so much quicker than most heavyweights, whereas George Groves doesn't have that advantage in speed over super middleweights. I happen to think that kind of copycat line is overplayed, but there's no doubt that somebody as good as Haye and as big a character as Haye is going to have an effect on somebody who's so early in his professional career.
But Mike's absolutely right. This fight, forget what we're saying now, forget what we may have said last month, and forget what we're going to say tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, even Saturday early evening. This fight could be won and lost as these guys walk out. And if we get 19,000 people at the O2, when you're down in the changing room there, and I've been down in the changing room there with David Haye before he fought Enzo Maccarinelli there, it's that scene in Jurassic Park, you know, when the glass starts to shake and you see the water going in circles. That's what you feel when you're in the bowels at the O2. So if you're in that changing room, no matter how loud your music is, you can sense it. And when Sky give you the call, there's another plug for Sky, when Sky give you the call and you walk in and some curtains open and you're looking out on basically thousands of people with their camera phones, unbelievable noise, that's when it's proper gut check time. And this is the difference. James DeGale came out in a packed arena, 8,000 people, in Liverpool, fighting a Liverpool favourite. So we know he's done it as a pro. He hasn't been part of David Haye's entourage. He hasn't been at a big fight. He's been in a big fight with a sold-out, big, hefty crowd with people spitting and throwing things as you walk to the ring. It's all going to be new for George. So
do you think the occasion might just get to him?
Well, I do think that this is a fight that could be won on emotion. Yeah. We hear about so much of sport can be won in the head. This can be won and lost in the heart, I think. And it's interesting, just picking up on what Steve was saying there, a line in Carl Froch's new book, which is just out. He talks about being in the dressing room before his last fight against Arthur Abraham in Helsinki. Best performance of his career. David Haye went over just for the day, went into the dressing room before the fight. When Carl Froch got the tap on the door that Steve is just talking about from the local TV company at that stage, David Haye stood up, rubbed his hands and said, "This is the moment, this is the moment, this is the part I love.
This is what we live for."
And that's, some fighters are not like that. Some fighters shrink at that stage, and that's the difference. And we won't know until those two men answer the first bell.
Well, you just mentioned Carl Froch. We can hear from him now. He's been giving us a view on DeGale against Groves. He's a super middleweight as well, of course. Carl Froch.
I think the longer it goes on, the more it favours DeGale. It's one of them fights that, DeGale's the more skillful fighter. He's technically very proficient, and he's got a lot of talent, DeGale has. So the longer the fight goes, I think the more points he picks up, and he'll he could win a comfortable points decision against Groves. But I think early on the fight's going to be a struggle for him. Groves is very aggressive, very mentally tough, and coming through the fight with Kenny Anderson in the way in which he did, it's added another string to his bow, if you like, because you need to be involved in them fights to find a little bit about yourself. Climbed off the canvas to win that fight against the top fighter. I mean, Kenny Anderson, I've been sparring with him. He was an undefeated fighter going into that fight. He's tough, he's strong, he's durable. He hit Groves with some big shots, put Groves on trouble, and Groves came through that, finished the stronger and got the job done, which is a great sign. I don't think DeGale's been involved in a fight like that. It's an interesting fight, and I can't pick a winner. I think the longer the fight goes on, the more it favours DeGale. But if somebody said to me the fight's gone early, who do you think's won? I'd say Groves has won if it's gone early. If it goes late and it goes to points, DeGale. At the minute, it's a 50-50 fight in my eyes, but what do I know?
You've spoken, as you set out on this new venture with Matchroom as maybe looking at another 5 fights possibly in your career, which could take you into the realms of DeGale or Groves and the winner of that fight, and Nathan Cleverly.
Yeah, definitely. So there's fights happening in the short term now that would set up potentially good fights for me mid to long term, maybe not even that long after the Super 6, which is supposed to be concluding at the end of this year. I can come back to Britain and have a homecoming against one of them names, so Groves, a DeGale or a Nathan Cleverly. So it's
of all the great fights you had, to have a huge domestic showdown would top it all, wouldn't it?
It really would, yeah. It'd be really exciting, and to put it on at the City Ground as well in Nottingham would be even more fantastic. And you've got to give these fighters that are coming through now plenty of respect, because they're in positions where I was a couple of years ago, and they can all fight. They're all good fighters in their own right, so why can't they mix it with me at this level? They can. So keep one eye on the space of a great homecoming domestically, hopefully ideally in Nottingham at the City Ground, with myself and one of them names you've just mentioned there.
That's Carl Froch. It's an exciting period at the moment, isn't it, for British super middleweights? And Froch's got a couple of important fights coming up himself, hasn't he, in the Super 6?
Yeah, I mean, the most important is in just over 2 weeks' time in Atlantic City on Saturday, June the 4th. He faces Glenn Johnson in the semi-finals of the Super 6 and will go on, if he wins that, to face the American Andre Ward. And that, for me, having looked at Andre Ward's performance against Arthur Abraham at the weekend, will be Froch's toughest fight, I think, even tougher than Mikael Kessler.
You mentioned Froch there, Mike, in June. We're also overlooking perhaps the other two world title fights we got in June. I'm not sure if we're on air again before, and I don't think we are. We've got Felix Sturm against Matt Macklin over in Germany, which is a sensational fight. Matt Macklin, former European champion. And before that, we've got Ryan Rhodes, who seems like he's only a baby, who won the British title in about 1996. He was a friend of Nassim Hamid's. He's going out to Mexico to fight this unbeaten kid in Mexico who's the most phenomenal star, and he's going out there on the 18th of June to fight for the WBC light middleweight title. So there's actually, in June, we've got 3 fully legitimate all 3 WBC fights. 3? What's Sturm? Is he WBC? It's very confusing. There's about 11 champions. Even we get confused. But 3 proper world title fights in 1 month. It's staggering.